One of the biggest issues for Americans and Kansans is political polarization. We wanted to see how the rise of political polarization affects the newest generation of voters in Kansas and how democracy and polarization look globally. We talked with young people, experts on the issue, and international PhD-seeking students to learn more. The term political polarization encompasses many different ways that people are pulling to each side of the political spectrum. Dr. Colleen Lind has done a lot of research on the political decision-making process. She said in one dimension of polarization, called affective polarization, scholars found people's emotions towards the political party they do not identify with have increasingly become more negative.
As evidenced by things like survey responses that says, how disappointed would you be if your son or daughter married someone of the other political party? Over time, people have responded to that in more and more polarized ways, saying, I would be more and more disappointed if they married someone that way. But we can also talk about partisan polarization. So that's sort of what we might think of as cleansing within the parties. So traditionally, Democrats would have a range of political ideologies, from liberal to conservative. Republicans would have a range of political ideologies, from liberal to conservative. But over about the last 30 years, we've seen this sorting within the parties so that Democrats are by and large mostly liberal. Republicans by and large are mostly conservative.
Dr. Raluca Cosma specializes in journalism and international political communication at Kansas State University. She explains that Kansas does not always follow the national trends.
Politically polarized society, we're kind of a unique example here, right? Because I think this can happen in a Midwestern agricultural society, right? Where you have men and women working side by side, and we have a female Democrat governor, right, in a state where the majority of politicians are Republicans. So I think people vote on the issues more so than, on gender or ideology. So just inform yourself on the issues and see where your interests lie and vote accordingly, right? But you have to inform yourself on those. So yes, there's more polarization than ever, but at the same time, there are examples where Kansas, right, they look at the issues and they don't fall into a pattern necessarily. And we also saw with the special election too, right, where we have major turnout in a midterm election, which we haven't seen in the past.
As for Generation Z, Dr. Lind says that their voting tendencies are still up for debate, but they have already proven to be politically active.
It seems fairly clear that Gen Z, despite the fact that they feel rather pessimistic about the future of the country and the ability of politics to make any difference or positive change, they nevertheless tend to get involved.
We wanted to see how the rise of political polarization affects the newest generation of voters. We talked with different clubs, classrooms, and organizations and gathered 16 participants of evenly spread political ideologies. Of the 16 Gen Zers who committed to the study, 9 participated, including 5 Democrats, 2 Republicans, 1 independent, and 1 undecided. In a pre-event survey, some participants expressed a little nervousness about the process, with responses like, quote, I am curious to see if other people will disagree with me because I feel like my opinions are different compared to most of the students here, end quote. And quote, this is definitely out of my comfort zone, but I am excited, end quote. And then lastly, quote, I am very nervous, but excited at the same time. I have never been a part of something like this before, end quote. Participants heard a series of statements about political polarization and were asked to walk to a line indicating how much they agreed with the statement. The different lines represented if they agreed, somewhat agreed, remained neutral, somewhat disagreed, or disagreed with the statement. America is polarized politically. The yellow dot represents our independent participant. The green dot represents our undecided participant, and the blue dot represents the Democrat participants, while the red dot represents the Republican participants. The participants almost unanimously agreed with this statement.
I mean, people don't, split their tickets anymore either. It used to be, a lot of the times you would vote for Republican on top of the ballot, and then you'd vote for Democrat for Senate, and you kind of have those inverted delegations and stuff, but you don't see that anymore.
I am an open-minded person. Again, most participants agreed that they were open-minded.
Yeah, I would just say it would be easier if everyone could just try to keep an open mind. It's easier said than done, but at the end of the day, I think it's more beneficial to listen and try to hear what they're saying, and that does not mean you have to change your views or anything, but I just feel like instead of I feel like people try to, in a way, like attack the other person, even if they don't mean it, but it's just like they're trying to benefit themselves, being like, oh no, I'm right, you're wrong, and I don't think it should be like that because everyone's valid to their own opinion.
My political beliefs are considered extreme in our society. While most did not feel this way, one participant who identifies as a Republican felt like an outlier.
Yeah, it was awkward. There's, I think, one I was on agree with. Do you think people view your beliefs as extreme? So that one was kind of a more loaded question type of thing, or people would think about you based on where you were on that question in particular. So that was one that stuck out to me of being like an outlier.
I could see myself voting for someone from the opposite political party one day. Participants were split on this statement, with Republicans leaning towards disagree and Democrats were split between somewhat agree and disagree. The independent and undecided voters remained neutral. All of our participants felt neutral or agreed with the statement about being open-minded. Can people be open-minded if they could never see themselves voting for someone in a different political party than them? Well, that is for you to decide.